People of Reddit working in extreme situations as offshore oil rigs, miners, seamen etc. What was your FCK this I'm out moment? I worked in a shipyard off the Great Lakes on tankers and cargo ships. I'll preface this by saying I loved and miss this job every day. I work in an office now and it's boring. One time I was working in a bilge tank with another guy named Ryan. We repaired a section of a bulkhead, cut out and replaced a section with new steel. We had the old 4x4 piece of steel tied up, made sure our knot was secure. He went up top to pull it up and I stayed down on the catwalk to help the load clear the ladder. Halfway up the rope snapped and the steel fell about an inch from me onto the catwalk, barely missing my head. I look up at Ryan for confirmation that I almost died. I pick up the piece to tie up and try again, and the catwalk collapses under the combined weight. Just another day though. My last day there I was helping my dad and a couple other guys move staging. I'm leaning over a hole between decks reaching for a plank. These are 100 pounds planks of wood. 2 guys below, 2 guys up top. Just as I get my hand on the plank, both guys below heave upwards, crushing my hand between it and the deck. I instantly knew my thumb was broken and walked out immediately, never to return. Yeah, my dad broke my thumb. Haha, the old did you see me almost get killed reassurance look, usually followed by your partner laughing his ass off if no one gets hurt. I worked fixing railway tracks for a while. Digs were horrible, the traveling was horrible, the tools were never in good enough condition. There's a spotters round the corners, if you're ever working near a bend, with a button to cut all our tools off if there's a train coming. About 9 of us working and we hear the train before seeing it. We just get the tools and our bodies clear as a train comes flying past. I go down the track to see what happened and the spotter is sat with his phone having a Tommy crank. I couldn't keep working with people like that. That was the last straw. I was a trainee on a North Sea drilling rig, a mud engineer. We were drilling and hit a pocket of H2S gas, explosive and highly toxic. We had gas detectors which went off the scale. The pit room, big tanks of mud with huge pumps to pump mud down the well, was evacuated but the mud pumps were still running. Somebody had to go back in, open the emergency air ventilation and shut down the pumps. I drew the short straw and put the respirator on, very old and possibly fricked, and wandered in. That was the longest 2 minutes of my life. I don't work offshore anymore. I've worked in the oil field for over a decade and whomever was in charge should have been brought up on criminal charges for allowing a trainee to enter a known hazardous area to do anything. You should have been sent immediately to muster station and someone with more experience and training sent to perform this task. I spent 2 weeks being lowered into the ballast tanks of Great Lakes or carriers in Milwaukee in December. The tanks are about the size of a railroad boxcar and they all have about 3 feet of mud in them. I had the vacuum cleaner from heck and sucked up all the mud while trying not to freeze to death. When that job was done I was put in a full protection suit and SCBA and crawled into the exhaust system of the ship's main engine with a solvent gun and I scraped diesel exhaust soot out of the 3 feet diameter exhaust pipes. I wanted to quit every single day but I was making the present day equivalent of $115 hour, $170 hour on overtime. I didn't quit. Heck, I'd do that now for that much. I worked at sea on fishing boats for a number of years as a biologist. One boat sank and I had to be rescued by the Coast Guard. A couple of boats caught on fire. I was in storms that I thought would kill me, but the reason I quit was because my boss was a dong. There's something invigorating about making it through a massive storm and underway damage control. Pants-crappingly terrifying and deadly sure, but exhilarating. A dong boss is just miserable 100% of the time with really no upside. I heard this story from our safety lady at work, so it's not my story. She was working in Manitoba and they have some remote mines, like fly-in fly-out mines. A miner had quit his job, but the company was going to charge him several $1,000s to fly him out. So, begrudgingly he stayed and worked, but not a week later he had a heart attack. He was showing signs of actually having one, so the rescue first aid team our safety lady was on was called out and chartered a helicopter to get him to the nearest hospital. They arrive. It looks like a legitimate heart attack, so they get him out. They're about 15-20 minutes from landing and this miner sits up. Obviously she attended to him and told him to lay down and be still, but he starts taking off his medical gear. and tells her that he snapped and needed out of there, and this was his only shot at getting out without paying several $1,000s or waiting for another month for rotation. Safety lady brought him into the hospital and he was cleared, confirmed healthy, and they let him go after monitoring him for a few days, I believe. He never went back to that mine, and he wasn't stuck with the bill because safety kept her mouth shut. She'd heard how bad that mine was, and if you don't know anything about Canadian mines, they'll work you until you drop, and then work over your body. Insane place to be, but smart guy. I worked offshore for a couple of years and loved it. Long hard hours for 2 weeks, and then a 2-week vacation. I was making great money, and bringing home tons of fish. The problem became getting to and from the platform. I was on the edge of blue water, so we took a 30-minute helicopter ride each way. The training program was a little scary. They throw you in a mock-up, turn off the lights and flip it underwater and upside down. Then a few months down the line you see the helicopter safety record. X number of crashes per Y number of flying hours. I calculated out and it is a matter of years before I am in an incident of some kind. HMMMMM. And then it freaking happened. I am half asleep at 5 AM sitting in the seat behind the pilot. This means I am facing backwards looking at 3 other passengers. All of a sudden I am weightless and the guy across from me is crossing himself. Foo-woo-woo-uck. I look over my shoulder out the windscreen and all I see is water. At the last moment we pull up and reduce our speed, but have a soft landing on the water. Pilot says he had a pelican coming right at us. Just the week before I had heard about a pelican coming through the windscreen and killing the pilot instantly. Then down went the chopper. We came pretty close to that apparently. A boat came out and picked us up to be brought back on shore. I went out 2 more times and could not bring myself to ride that copter anymore. Frick this place, it is bulls. I am out of here. Dude, you survived a nighttime helo ditching at sea. You're a lucky guy, pal. Hope you're doing well. I don't usually work in extreme situations. I'm a directional drill operator for underground utilities, so it's fairly safe, but there was one job I had in Virginia for an electric conduit for a new launch pad for Wallops Island, where we had a very small amount of time to get a lot done. There was a week-long period where there was an intense thunderstorm every day, and we delayed the job as much as we could until we decided to say frick it and work through it because we were falling so far behind. Directional drills have an alarm for when the machine is electrified by, say, drilling through a power line. My strike alarm began to constantly chime from lightning crashes. I silently got in the truck and left. I mean, if someone is willing to risk their life with those odds, they might as well just rob a bank at gunpoint. Working overseas in East Africa, I was helping lay out and design a human waste-to-fuel plant. The existing system is a 100 foot by 100 foot by 40 foot deep pit where the trucks come from the city to dump the waste, and then it just sits there. It was normally not terrible, except when trucks came by, then it stunk. And the flies. Oh god, the flies. The first week I was there, a truck came up to the pit, backed up, and a dude came out to open the valve to release the honey. It shoots out, then comes to a stop. It looked like a plastic bag had gotten stuck in there. First the guy tried hitting it with a pole or a shovel. That does not work, so he climbs out around the back of the truck, see 30 foot deep crap pit above, and then grabs it and yanks. It pulls free and a horizontal geese of crap blasts him in the face. I was like, nope. Same location. Happy story. A few weeks later a kitten was seen floating in the pit and meowing piteously. The local crap pit workers and landfill guys take pity on it and try to kill it with rocks, so it doesn't drown. Freaking dark. I know. My co-worker was like no and he found a rope and a bucket and went crap kitty fishing. And dang me did he not rescue that cat. He brought it home, washed it 1,000 times, and last I heard it was doing fine. I'd be the crap kitty fisherman in a heartbeat. Dad was a traveling salesman and was very dedicated. Insisted on cross-country trips for high-end clients. Would go days without sleep, traveling through tribal areas and mountain highways dead of night. But he was also a naive guy in his 20s, so picked up a random hitchhiker because it was raining and he felt bad. The dude pulled a gun on him, told him stop the car. My dad had cash in the car, and in addition to being naive, was also stubborn as crap and started accelerating. So if the guy shot him, the car would go flying off the hill. They reached some gas station with armed tribesmen. Tribal people aren't very nice to criminals, and the hijacker quickly put his gun away and walked off. My dad left the business after a couple more reckless incidents and family pressure. They gave us a pizza party. I spent a few months loading trucks for a major package shipping company. Every night, starting at 11 p.m., I would stack boxes, one every 12 seconds. Supposedly, in one night, I'd fill at least one of those giant 18-wheeler trailers with boxes, crates, industrial materials, car parts, flowers by mail, presents, and an endless flow of Amazon packages. I worked each night with not enough sleep, doing exhausting labor, moving heavy dangerous machinery, and got heavy packages dropped on my head almost every night. We got one 15-minute break a night. One day, during our break, they told us that our section had been the most productive in the shipping hub that month, and as such, we were going to be given pizza. By the way, we couldn't actually relax during our break. We had to listen to announcements and safety tips. The next night, sure as God made little green apples, we got pizza to eat as quickly as we could during our break. And as I sat there, eating my kinda stale, cheapest possible pizza, I thought to myself, frick this, I don't need this job that bad. I never went back after that shift. I hate companies that think giving pizza is some great reward. In grade school, maybe, but I am a grown-up. I don't get excited about pizza. If I want a pizza, I'll go buy my own dang pizza. Was working as an arborist on a very windy day. I was up in a tree cutting branches that were constantly moving in the wind when I heard a snap. A tree beside me just broke in half. I noped out of there pretty dang quick. IDK if extreme, but I have 9 years in the Navy as submariner. My frick you moment that set it in was when we were working pretty much 14-hour days 7 days a week in Dridurk. Think we did it for over a month and then we went out to sea for about 3 months. Glad I didn't have a family then, but just being at work all the time and stuck in a metal tube for months on end just sucked. The couple of fond memories don't outweigh the massive number of stupid crap. I work for a contracting company who handles a lot of maintenance in an iron ore mine up in Canada. One of the many sketchiest moments I've ever had was having to crawl on a structural beam 50 feet in the air underneath a floating crusher hopper and hold on occasionally when the haul trucks would dump 250 plus tons of rocks only a couple feet above my head. What made it even more terrible wasn't the fact that the whole plant would shake, but all the structural support plates actually reinforcing the hopper walls were all sheared off. I've had hydraulic jacks break off their strong backs and go flying past my head. I've seen a co-worker get launched 6 feet in the air by a belt being pulled taut by a shuttle. Things fall down and nearly kill someone. Not to mention heat exhaustion while working on the induration machines. Building-sized furnaces used to bake iron pellets, easily 122 degrees plus, or outside changing conveyor belt rollers in -40. I've had my fair share of near misses and seen a bit of wild crap. Mines can be pretty dangerous. People do lose fingers, hands, arms, and sometimes their lives. People like to think that we've improved in safety, and in some aspects it's true. However, the attitude is still very much you want a job, do it. Sometimes I imagine life away from the office, then I see this. Not as extreme as others, but I used to work at a group home for troubled teens. One day during room searches, we found that the boys had smuggled in duct tape and had made wooden shanks. They were planning on taping down staff members and stabbing the frick out of us. I quit that day. My life is worth more than $9 an hour. Not me, but my brother worked on a North Sea oil barge. His buddies found out he would be getting married after the current 2-week shift, and in the middle of the night they pinned him down, shaved his entire body and gave him tattoos using indelible marker pens. He had some explaining to do on his honeymoon and stopped working offshore after that. I think he would have been justified committing some light murder in response. Worked at a deep shaft coal mine and spent a few years as a production supervisor. We were moving equipment out of an old part of the mine that we were about to seal up. The roof was sagging and the floor was heaving. Seemed like every time we went for a return trip, the roof was closer and closer to the top of the hauler. Finally, one of my employees used his right of refusal and said, "This is not safe, I'm not doing." And I was like, good enough for me, let's go. Knew a guy who used to work in mines. He said he worked in a mine where they had these big high voltage rails overhead that powered the carts or something. A guy walked by with his shovel or something over his shoulders and touched both sides. Died instantly. I worked 5 years in an iron ore concentrator plant and we had a few incidents with the project group building new things and putting them into use straight away. Like a scats crusher that was supposed to crush scats before it being fed back into the primary mill. But when the milling steel balls got to a certain size they came out with the scats and went straight into the crusher and either cracked the mantle or blew the 48mm bolts that kept the shell on sky high at insane speeds. The problem was that this crusher was located at a spot where people frequently walked by and it could have easily killed people if they got hit by those bolts. Another time we got a blocked pump in the dirty water recycle system, so me and a colleague went to check it out, asked the control room operator to start the pump and then we saw steam coming out of the pump house, which should have been a giveaway on our part. We stopped the pump and asked mechanics to come take a look at it. The normal procedure was just starting it at max speed to see if we could open the blockage, as it was usually after the pump discharge the blockage occurred. The mechanics hooked up a hose to the drain of the pump and asked me to start it, and after I did they opened the valve and fed water into the pump. We didn't understand why the amps were so low on the pump, and we didn't have time to find out. The moment the cold water hit the impeller, the pump exploded and threw half the pump house, motor, coupling, synthetic hinge and ripped the concrete platform it was standing on in half. And all this flew 5 meters straight into the wall. We heard the explosion in the control room on the other side of the site, and then the mechanics radioed up call an ambulance. He's bleeding. Turns out there was a blockage in the inlet as well as at the discharge end and the impeller ran scalding hot due to the pressure. Most terrifying crap I have ever experienced. Luckily the mechanics had moved to the side of it and one got hit by shrapnel from the explosion, but was fine. Had they been in front of it like we were just 20 minutes before, someone would have died. Needless to say we were really careful with crap like that from then on, until the mine filed for bankruptcy a year later. I still get chills even writing about this. Yeah, those big pumps and motors have to be treated with respect. Scary as heck, but glad everyone was alright. That's some really unsafe ways to do something though. Knew a drilling supervisor who quit when the company we were with decided to do night moves with the rigs. In a previous job, one of his crew had been killed on a night move. His parting comment to me was, when the bucket of crap becomes heavier than the bucket of money, it's time to move on. You have been visited by the strong skeleton. He wants you to like this video and have a good week. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video, or don't. Either way, have a great day you magnificent people.